Good morning, ladies and gentlemen and young aspiring 4-H people. We'll begin the meeting with a call to order and then the pledge of allegiance by Mr. John Martin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Allen. Auger. Here. Ferrero. Castro. Dahl.
So we're starting first, sir.
Here.
Frost.
Here.
Gillum. Here. Kamen.
Here.
Hoshite.
Here.
Ismail.
Here.
Kazar.
Here.
Leonard.
Here.
Lewis.
Here.
Martin.
Here.
Molina. Pollock. Shefflo. Silva. Here. Smith.
Here.
Starrett. Vasquez.
Here.
Warnecki.
Here.
Why don't we all, the board members, stand up and we'll start with Dr. Silva. And just say who you are. And
I'm Dr. Sarah Silva. I'm Chair of Public Health, and I welcome you all. Thank you.
I'm Brian Dahl, and I represent both North Aurora and Aurora area.
I'm Bill Leonard, and I'm Chair of the Human Services.
I'm Don Ishmael, represent the east side of Aurora.
Teresa Barrero, District 2, North Aurora and East and West Side.
Bertolina, District 1, Aurora.
oh, there you go.
John Hoshite, District 12, represent the east side of St. Charles, some of Geneva and South Elgin.
I'm Martin, District 11. I represent most of Geneva and part of Batavia.
In the Marquette Apartments.
My name is Susan Starrett, District 10. It's parts of North Aurora, parts of Batavia. And I am Vice Chair of Public Health, and I'm Co-Chair of Legislative.
T.R. Smith, I represent the townships of Burlington, Hampshire, and Rutland. I'm also the Chairman of Agriculture.
Maria Vasquez, District 8, parts of Aurora and Montgomery.
I'm Deborah Allen. If Elgin is divided into 4 quarters, I'm the southeast quarter.
Barbara Wonicki, District 15, Hampton Township, Plato Township, and Virgil Township, and I'm Chair of Energy and Environment Committee.
Art Davis, I represent District 14, which is all St. Charles and a little bit of South Elgin, and formerly Geneva, where my shadow is from.
Bill Lewis, District 13, representing the west side of St. Charles and the northwest corner of Geneva.
Joe Heyman, represent District 24, parts of Carpentersville and part of Barrington Lakes.
Maggie Arter, I represent District 23, the far north, Algonquin, part of Carpentersville, and I'm the committee chair of our land acquisition committee.
Hi, I'm Becky Gillum.
District 21, I represent, East and West and Sleepy Hollow, parts of Gilbert's, parts of Carpentersville, and I am co-chair with Teresa Barrero on the Jobs Committee.
I'm Kurt Kazarek. I am District 19. I don't represent as many municipalities as Becky. I'm kitty corner from Deb Allen, so I'm the northwest portion of the city of Elgin, as well as the village of Gilbert's, and I chair the development committee.
Drew Frez, District 18. I represent West Central King County, including Mill Creek, Elburn, Caneville, and Maple Park.
All right, can we get the young people to stand up and introduce themselves? Start with Mr. Francis.
What you do in 4-H.
I'm Jillian Hasek, and I do cooking in 4-H.
Mrs. Allen, we wonder why we don't have the speaker here. You promised us a speaker.
Well,
so they could speak into it. We had speaker training last night.
Jillian Hasek, I do cooking in 4-H, and I'm from Big Rock.
Where are we going?
Well, we ended up.
Just get nobody else up.
I was going to say,
Jennifer Stevens. I do horse activities in 4-H, and I'm from Sycamore.
Hi, I'm London Gotel. I do dog training in 4-H, and I'm from Elgin.
Hello, I'm Tommy Antonsen, and I do citizenship things in 4-H, and I am from Geneva.
I am Willem Vandermeer, and I do woodworking in 4-H, and I am also from Geneva.
I'm Jade Panic. I show pigs and cattle in 4-H, and I'm from Batavia.
I'm Madison Solomon, and I raise chickens for 4-H.
I'm Aiden Schad. I do natural resources in 4-H, and I'm from North Aurora.
There's two more that came in.
We have a couple more, we have another late arrivals.
We don't really have late arrivals. Their shadows didn't show, so I'm switching them. So
Okay.
Mr. Hyman and Mr. Leonard. Still the
Give them the
old
microphone.
shadow.
Throw them into the pit.
Okay. And what you do in 4-H.
Okay. I'm Isabel Shad. I'm from North Aurora, and I am in visual arts.
I'm Christopher Wood. I'm from North Aurora, and I do natural resources.
Thank you very much for being here. You are the future, young people. I guess we told you that before.
Is the gentleman with gray hair right over there?
Now we have one person that signed up for public comment.
Would you want to sit here?
It would be Kim,
I'll put you together.
no, oh, different one.
Sure.
Dan Raisby. Yes, sir. You get up and give us 3 minutes.
I've got a question before I start, if you don't mind, about the time. My wife is the second one you mentioned, Kim Raisby, my beautiful wife. The Kane County Board, I know it's different, gives 5 minutes for agenda items and 3 for non-agenda. This is an agenda item. I would ask for 5, and if not, if you, the board, and my beautiful wife would be okay with me taking her 3 minutes, that'd be great. I'll try to keep it less than 6.
You're taking a woman's time to talk.
No. I'm asking. I'm asking, please. So if you're okay with it, but I wanted to ask first, so.
Go ahead.
Okay, thank you, sir. I appreciate it. And I echo the president's sentiments about the young kids being here. My name is Dan Raisby. I live in St. Charles Township. Approximately 25 years ago, my wife and I moved into the area looking for a piece of property which we found in unincorporated township that borders the Fox River Bluff area. Before purchasing that property, we noticed that it backed up to a farmer's field. Not knowing what was going to happen with that farmer's field, as you see a lot of these cookie-cutter subdivisions go up, I approached the gentleman that lived on the property. His name was Chuck. He lived there on one of the pieces of property, 2 houses that were there. And I asked him, I said, I'm looking at buying this piece of property for $55,000, believe it or not. And he said, you know what? It's a great piece of property because the Forest Preserve, this Forest Preserve, along with the Department of Conservation, just purchased this property, a field, and it's going to become a Forest Preserve. That was it. That was the icing on the cake. Okay, 25 years later, I've raised 4 children. They've loved that Forest Preserve. When we moved in, I could see across my property to Wayne. Now you can't. When I moved in, my little kids were taller than the little 5,000 seedling trees that we helped plant. Now those trees are 25, 30, 40 feet tall. Okay? So, great times, this Forest Preserve. My neighbors and I helped open a little area so that more of the neighborhood could come through and use that Forest Preserve. Out of my own pocket, I've spent over $1,000 at the beginning to remove barbed wire from the Forest Preserve, plant trees and such. My kids have thoroughly enjoyed this property. In January of this year, I found out about a contract that all of you agreed to. And that was the contract with the St. Charles Row Club. That contract, from what I understand, was signed in November of 2014. I reached out to my representative, John Hoshite. Thank you for responding to me, and he clarified what was actually happening and that this contract was signed. Part of that contract disturbed me greatly because I helped plant those trees with these hands. My kids ran through those trees. And so part of that contract called for some of those trees that are now 40 feet tall and cannot be replaced to be brought down. So my problem today is this. I understand that the contract is void with the Fox River Rowing Club. I understand that. I want you to know as a board, my problem was never with the row club. I see them out there. I'm on the river all the time. I think it's a great organization. My problem is with you, the Kane County Forest Preserve Board. That's my problem. Number one, the contract you signed, some of you are lawyers, correct? The contract you signed is void. It never should have existed. Read the OSLAD agreement. Is that my 3-minute timer? Well, I got 6. It's void. I've consulted numerous law professionals and 2 judges who have reviewed your contract that you all agreed to and the OSLAD agreement. It's illegal. It would lose in a court of law. I'm glad that the Fox River Club took it away. I'm unfortunate they couldn't sustain it, but what you did was sign your names and agree to a contract that is not binding. It should have never happened. Number 2, your mission statement. And I'm sorry? Your mission statement, to acquire, hold, and maintain lands with Kane County that contribute to the preservation of natural and historic resources, habitats, flora, and fauna, and to restore, restock, protect, and preserve such lands for education, recreation, and pleasure of all its citizens. You did it. You acquired this land. You helped plant those trees. It's great. It's a recreational area that we can walk around. You've done it. But signing that contract, you did not follow your mission statement. Number 3, it's unethical. John, I pointed out before, I appreciate what you did on March 24th, I believe was the date. You stood up or had read that we should not have done this contract without letting the people in that neighborhood know what was going on. I'm paraphrasing. Please, I'm asking you as the Kane County Board, moving forward, any property in Kane County, let alone the one that I border, please include us, the voting public, the neighbors of this property, and please follow the lead of that OSLAD grant. It's very binding. Please read it. I want to publicly thank, even though I very much disagreed with Mr. Hoshite, my representative, for signing that agreement. I want to thank him for taking the step to include us as neighbors. And I want to publicly thank Chris Lawson, the only politician, elected official, that returned my phone call when all this was going on. Thank you very much. Please, please listen to the neighbors surrounding these forest preserves, and please don't sign contracts to remove trees that have grown there for now almost 30 years. Thank you very much.
And now, Rob is going to show a video of a volunteer recruitment video for the windmill. This is Rob Cleve. He's our volunteer coordinator.
Yeah, speak first. All right, thank you guys very much. I really appreciate the opportunity to address the commission. I also want to specifically thank some of the commissioners who were able to make it to the volunteer appreciation dinner. We actually had over 100 volunteers come out about 2 weeks ago for a celebration of their accomplishments in 2015. And as a volunteer crew, the volunteers actually contributed over 11,700 hours to the Forest Preserve last year. So that actually works out to what we call a workforce contribution, which is if we would have had to pay people to do that same amount of work, of over $290,000 essentially given to the district in service. So, You know, our volunteers do an incredible amount of work, and they really do a great job of working with all different areas and departments of the Forest Preserve. So thank you again who were there for the appreciation. Before we get to the volunteer recruiting video we're going to show, I just wanted to point out within the meeting agenda, there's a list of volunteer events that are coming up. And with April being the month with Earth Day, we have some really cool events coming up. We're actually going to be planting 600 oak trees at our Fitchie Creek Forest Preserve in Elgin on April 23rd. We're also going to be doing a windmill cleanup at the historic Fabian Windmill in early May. So there's tons of different opportunities to get involved, whether you want to get out and do physical work or whether you want to learn more about some of our awesome historical and cultural sites that we have here in Kane County. So without saying any more, I'm going to go ahead and play the video. This was set up through Henry and Associates, who went ahead and helped us shoot the videos. We're still in the process of getting all of our volunteer groups a video. They're just short videos that give you an idea of the type of work and the type of service that our different volunteers provide.
Well, I love nature. I've always been an outdoors person, and what better place to see nature and experience and love it and enjoy it than in a forest preserve right in our own neighborhood.
There's a lot of work to be done in the forest preserves. There's no way possible they could do all these things. So if we donate a few hours each month, we're all making a big difference in the long run.
So a typical day for a volunteer work day is a Saturday from 9 to noon. We'll collect about 9 o'clock in the morning. We'll figure out what area we want to go to cut buckthorn and invasives. And we'll get anywhere from 10 to 50 volunteers on a Saturday.
Pick a target area to do our work in. Flag the good stuff, because we don't want to cut anything or our volunteers that is desirable. So it's important you mark those well. And then once we start, it seems like it just takes off and work gets done.
The diversity has really gone up in terms of the flowers that you see, the grasses you see, the increase in birds, butterflies.
I've seen amazing changes in 3 years. I've actually seen some small oaks starting to regenerate. We're seeing some of the native ground flora come back.
Buckthorn and honeysuckle, the invasive species, have been removed. The ground is now getting sunlight and new seed placed in it, and that makes a huge impact on this area.
Prairie fever is I think your love for nature that releases once you get out and start working in it. And once you get the prairie fever, there's just no known cure for it.
To come out here and have the volunteers appreciate to want to come out here and enjoy themselves is, to me, gives me goosebumps, and it makes me appreciate the time that I give and the time that they give.
We have people on our work days walk by and say, thanks for what you guys are doing here. You're making a difference.
It's hard to tell someone cutting buckthorn is going to be fun, but when they leave, I've actually had numerous people come up to me afterwards and say they had fun, and they're going to come back. Not only do they come back, but they bring their families and their friends, which says a lot about being out here.
Well, if you love nature and you want to make an impact that'll be lasting, join one of these work days and see what we do and the fun we have doing it as a group.
I love this.
All right. Oh, let me stop up there. So that is the video presentation. Again, thank you very much for your time. And also I'll mention, it was great to hear when all the 4-H folks introduced themselves. I did hear a couple of natural resources in there. And so I'll just mention we have lots of great volunteer opportunities. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. I should also add that Rob was a recent graduate of our volunteer for the leaders of the Forest Preserve, but he missed that ceremony. Next, we have the approval of the minutes from March 8th, moved by Mr. Drew Franz, seconded by Kirk Kajarek. Is there discussion on the minutes? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion's carried. Now, the next one we have is the presentation approval of bills. Barbara Winicky moves. Deborah Allen seconds. This is the month's bills that we have. We'll discuss these, and if there is any discussion on that, then we'll have a roll call vote. Is any discussion, any questions? Why would it be you, Deborah?
Wanted to say that our bills are shown on our website. They are available online for the executive committee meeting, and anyone can literally see every check that was written the previous month. It's just another form of transparency, and it lets you see how your tax dollars are spent.
Thank you. Ready to vote? Roll call.
Yes.
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 Motion's approved. Bills are approved. The next, we have a bunch of bids and proposals. 2455, resolution accepting a bid for the reconstruction of the historic Fabian Lighthouse at the Fabian Forest Preserve. Would anybody like to move that? Mr. Lewis wants to move. Mr. Martin wants to second. Is there any discussion on that lighthouse? We'll move on and we'll do the roll call for all of them at once. Next is 2456, resolution accepting a bid for the herbicide control of wild serval at the Long Grove, Meisner Corn, and Bowes Creek Woods Forest Preserves. Barbara Winicky moves. Bill Leonard seconds. Is there questions on this? Seeing none, we'll move to the next one. Resolution accepting a bid for weed management at the Bliss Woods and Johnson's Mound Forest Preserves. Drew Frost moves.
Is that yours? Freeman Kane.
Deborah Allen seconds. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, we'll move on to the resolution for the bids for the restoration of portions of Bowes Creek, Fitchie Creek, and the Freeman Kane Forest Preserve. Mr. Smith moves.
Mr. Chairman, it's in my district. I'll make the motion. However, I would like to change. We do have a clerical error. We have the Kane Forest Preserve instead of the Kane Forest Preserve.
Okay, we'll fix that. Is there a second?
It's Bill, right?
Okay, Susan Sterrett seconds. Any questions? We're moving on to the resolution authorizing a change order from R.W. Collins Company for the removal and disposal of contaminated soil from the Brunner Family Forest Preserve. Mrs. Auger moves, Mr. Heyman seconds. Is there any questions? Next one is the resolution authorizing a change order from the Resource Consulting Environmental Consulting Service for the fuel tank removal from the project at the Brunner Family Forest Preserve. Mr. Heyman moves and Mrs. Auger seconds. Is there discussion on any of these? Do you want to bring up any of the previous ones? We're going to take them as a group so Pat doesn't have to read all these names 4 times. Oh, Mrs. Allen.
I just wanted to mention that the weed management and the reforestation are all a continuation of programs that were started with John Doerr and continued with Drew Alberg. Dick Young was involved in that planning. It's decades-long planning, and our newest resource director, Ben Haberther, has picked that up. And I just want to say that I think that continuity is an amazing thing to watch as we try to continue improving the properties that we have all paid for and we all enjoy. And then I also wanted to just thank Ben for providing in our executive summaries all the extra mapping to show where this work was going to take place, where the forest preserves were located. It's just more information, and it's helpful for me. I don't go to all of the forest preserves, and it's helpful to see where this work is being done. So I just wanted to say thanks for the extra effort.
All of what we do is done in committee first, and we discuss things and ask questions. And then we come back in here and we do it formally. And once we approve this, then that's the way we go with it. Are you ready, Pat?
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Motions all pass. Next, we're going to move on to grants. And this is resolution authorizing the district to apply for the grant for National Fish and Wildlife Foundation Monarch Butterfly Conservation Fund to improve the butterfly habitat throughout Kane County. And wait, before we move that, we're going to let our, well, you can move it. You can move it if you want. Okay, you're going to move it?
Second
Ms. Burrell moves it.
Second it.
Mr. Heyman is a pollinator, seconds. Ben, would you want to come forward and tell us about it?
Gotta be busy as a bee.
Would you introduce yourself?
Yes. Yeah. Hello, I'm Ben Haberther. I'm our new Director of Natural Resources for the Forest Preserve District. This is my 4th week here at the Forest Preserve, but going on my 4th week as Director, 5th year being with the Forest Preserve District. And I'm here at the behest of the Executive Committee to talk a little bit more about this grant that we're going for. First, I wanted to address Commissioner Allen's comments. Thank you very much. But of course, it's not me alone, and I want to specifically thank our crew members, Jason Johnson and Patrick Chess, for some of the mapping that they did. And it ties in well with what we're going to talk about with Monarchs here, because the continuity between different careers is intentional, and it lines up more with the timescales that we're dealing with on an ecological basis. The work we're doing is longer and greater than any one of our lives, so being able to tie those in is really how we're going to affect change. So specifically, we're going to talk about monarchs. This has been in the news a lot the last couple of years. Basically, monarchs are in trouble. And we have a couple statistics, but not too many of them. This is a chart of their wintering grounds in Mexico. Monarchs, like birds, migrate north and south. More interestingly than birds, they do it over multiple generations, so it can take 4 or 5 generations from the monarchs that left Mexico to get back in that same year. So it's really an amazing feat that isn't completely understood. But you can see on the trend here, within recent years, there's been almost a 90% reduction in the eastern population of monarchs. There's 2 populations, east and west of the Rockies. The western one's seeing similar trends, but the eastern one has been devastated. And it's a combination between loss of habitat in their wintering grounds and loss of this species in our area. This is a common milkweed. We have a number of different milkweeds across the forest preserves. We are rich with milkweed, but we could be planting even more and making new prairie. It's something we've been putting in our mixes since the 70s. But this plant is specifically important to the monarch because they lay their eggs on it, their caterpillars grow up on it, they put their chrysalis, which is like a cocoon, on that, and they spend almost their entire life cycle on one individual plant or a couple. And so restoring the milkweed is restoring the monarch. NIFWF is the NFWF, the National Fish and Wildlife Federation. They have been granted $3.9 million from the federal budget in the last year, and this is the area they've chosen to focus on for the eastern population. You can see it's pretty much made up of 14 states, and it roughly goes along the Interstate 35 corridor from Texas to Minnesota. we fall in that area as one of their priority states. And what we're proposing is to partner with these 12 organizations to create a regional corridor that'll complement the national corridor. So along with our Forest Preserve District, DuPage is interested, Kendall is interested, and then other land conservancies within the adjacent counties, the Land Conservancy of McHenry County and Conserve Lake County. And there's just a lot of little dots that are going to be filled in with this corridor. Specific to our county, we're looking at these 3 forest preserves for the first year, and it would be new or enriched prairie. Burnage would be an enrichment of a brome field, basically inserting milkweed and other nectar plants. Dick Young would be an enrichment, and Aurora would be a new prairie. This would be a 2-year project, and it's a match grant. I think you've heard the details of that, but I think it is a great opportunity, and it's an opportunity for us to be leaders in the region on monarch conservation. Thank you for your time.
Are there any questions? You guys could always talk to Ben, and he would help you, and you could plant your own monarch butterfly garden in your backyard or back at the Extension Center. Becky?
I just wanted to add, in case you were interested in getting your own seeds and planting some in your yard, there's a website called savethemonarch.org, I believe, and so you can get your Asclepias seeds there. So, thank you.
Barbara?
Just a quick word to our students. When we do partner with other counties or other government units of government, it increases our chances greatly of receiving those grants. So it's a wonderful cooperative plan.
Working together, you can be stronger, huh?
Pardon me?
We can be stronger working together.
Correct.
Mr. Chairman, what was the dollar amount of the grant?
It's 50,000 or something. What is it?
We're having a meeting with the Conservation Foundation on Thursday to finalize it. It would be no more than 50,000 per year for a total of 100,000 from us, but it's likely to be less because of the popularity in gaining partners.
Thank you.
Any questions? You young people can ask a question too if you want. Seeing none, it's a roll call vote.
Yes.
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 Motion passes. Next, under an agreement 2462, resolution revoking the use of the license agreement with the St. Charles Rowing Club at the Fox River Bluff East Forest Preserve. Do I have a motion? Mr. Holscheit moves.
Wait a second.
Oh, Mr. Lewis seconds. Is there any discussion?
Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Mr. Lewis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Careful. Just careful.
I do appreciate the coaching, sir. Thank you. Interesting, I brought this up at executive. The city of St. Charles is building enthusiasm for crewing or rowing as we know it. And the community is encouraging people to read Boys in the Boat, which is a documentary in regards to the 1936 Olympic team from the state of Washington, University of Washington, that won the gold medal in 1936 in Berlin. And I would encourage board members to pick up a copy of that, read it, because I'm in process of it, and as I read it, I gain a greater appreciation for the opportunity that we have being stewards of the Fox River and being leaders of our communities in the beneficial use of that river. And rowing is certainly in that venue, and despite the fact that this particular solution or answer may not have worked at this time, I still encourage all of us to lend a favorable ear to rowing and the use of the Fox River. So, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. it just was going to cost too much to do, and the rowing people asked to get out of the agreement. All in favor, roll call vote?
Allen. Aye. Auger.
Yes.
Ferrero. Yes. Castro. Yes. Dahl. Yes. Davis.
Yes.
Fries. Yes. Gillen.
Yes.
Heyman.
Yes.
Bochamp. Yes. Ismail. Yes. Pizzaro.
Yes.
Leonard.
Yes.
Lewis.
Yes.
Martin. Yes. Molina. Yes. Pollock.
Yes.
Sheffler.
Yes.
Silva. Yes. Smith.
Yes.
Sterrett.
Yes.
Vasquez.
Yes.
Renecki.
Yes.
Motion passes. Mr. Shefflo, would you just introduce yourself? Doug
My name's Doug
Shefflo.
Shefflo. I'm District 22 up in Elgin, on the west side of Elgin.
Thank you. There's nothing in front of you except the president's comments against. I'm thankful that you're here. You are our future. You're what's going to carry this county and in this country. And the fact that you're trying to do things like being 4-H speaks well of you. We have no need for an executive session. We need a motion to put the reports on file. Maggie Auger moves. Drew Fraz seconds. Is there discussion on that? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Is there anything else to come before the board? Mr. Heyman?
I was just going to make a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Heyman moves to adjourn. Is there a second? Mr. Smith seconds. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
We have things that we do.